Because, all right, so kind of what we're talking about here, Marissa, this is a very deep-seated, like, big concern is that a woman that we're into may come over and see boyish things and not man stuff. So can you give us a checklist of when you go into a guy's place, what stands out as like, okay, this is a man, he's got it together, and what are like, all right, he's a boy / fratty?
Okay, so this is one of my favorite topics literally ever because I live with a man and one of the biggest things I talk about is he doesn't have a headboard. What is that? Oh my God. I'm like, at least Jordan has a headboard. Listen, like he's got some good side. He has a plant, you know, it's great. But if you don't have Alex, do you not have a headboard?
No, I got one. I'm looking at it.
Okay. Whoo, you know, I was just, you looked over there. So I was like, I'm scared. So if they don't have a headboard, I will literally be like, I'm so sorry. I am going home. Like it is a make or break. I swear. If they have like matching bed sheets or at least like some sort of theme going, that's good. That's good.
Oh, nice. Check.
Yeah. If they have like a tapestry in their bedroom, it's gotta go. I'm so sorry.
I know.
It's gotta go. I see.
Dude, we gotta buy some art. Like,
are you saying that because you've listened to a past episode and or you're seeing it right now, or is this a true thing?
It's literally a true, even women. I'm like, I'm sorry. So like, I can't.
You didn't realize that Alex had a tapestry in his room directly behind
behind him. After I said it, I saw it because I saw the like push pins in the corner. Otherwise, I would think it was just art because I can't really see it that much. But yes, a tapestry, dude, it's got at least like frame it, you know?
Just a photo of himself in his room as well. Just a big poster board.
Dude, what does that poster board say?
Let's do Rob. How about gift bags? How do you feel about gift bags?
If they have what are those lights, the LED lights?
Like what I have. Is that what you're saying?
No, those are even worse. They're Christmas lights, but like, it's just, get a corner light, you know, like I can send you some links, like get some mood lighting. Like mood lighting's great. I'm not trying to have like sunlight directly on me, but I'm saying like some mood lighting's great. It's fantastic. Otherwise, there's not much that I have to really, there's not much that they have to do, but as long as they look like they're like, oh, I live here and I care that I live here. Yeah. That's nice. Cause like Jordan's place, like is pretty, like it's pretty put together. It's pretty nice. Like he has some like different seating options. He has bar stools. He has like, you know, nice stuff, but like, you know,
some
his
artwork,
room could use a little work, but it has some good stuff.
Yes, I'm aware that my room is not put together. It is not. I haven't like settled on it. I did actually go to Goodwill twice yet. No, I went to Goodwill and then Target and got some more stuff for my place. So
that's nice.
Piecing it all together, I'm tempted to do a gallery wall. I have an open space in the back so I bought some more artwork, a little more things to spice it up.
Can you show us behind the curtain? Is there any like female equivalent of, I guess, the same insecurity? Like do women have that of, is my place put together?
I think that women never stop thinking about their room, like, or like their place to live. Like every time I come home, I'm like, oh, I can change this. Oh, I can move this around. Like no joke. I like forgot I had meetings the rest of the day, but I was like, oh, I'm going to come home from the gym and literally redo my entire room. That's my plan for the rest of the day.
Just because it weighs on you?
It's just, I also just got back from a trip. So like my like stuff is everywhere, but I'm like, oh, I could redo this. I can make this. I'm also such a minimalist that I just hate having stuff. So like I am.
Yeah, you look like you're in a prison cell right now.
Okay, well, that's because I am in the middle of my living room and it's just,
it doesn't have prison vibes. That was just,
it kind of does.
I mean, maybe like a community.
If you saw
center.
the rest of my place, you'd be like, that's a prison, but it's totally fine.
I have one for girls places. I'm really into like a clean toilet. I've once gone into a girl's bathroom and there was like a ring, or like that gross ring in the toilet. It was like a poopy ring. And I was just like, this is bad. I think
that as long as they have the same Because I don't think I've ever walked into a man's bathroom and I'm like, oh my God, this is great.
Yeah.
Like really,
Yeah.
to be honest.
I just shaved my face,
But-
and I'm like, there's gonna be little
Oh my God.
face shavings.
It's
I mean,
everywhere.
everywhere.
It's
Yeah,
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Get one of those like things that like go to the
A bib?
they suction cup to the mirror.
Really?
You know, it goes around your neck and then it suction cups to the mirror and then it just goes into it and then you could just like dump it out.
That's
So,
smart.
guys, if you're just joining us on the Still Single podcast, this is episode 6, and we've had some requests to have like a female perspective on the pod. So we brought our friend Marissa on. Marissa, thank you so much for joining us on episode 6. And today we want to talk about a couple things, but specifically we want to talk about the DTR, defining the relationship conversation, and kind of get a female's perspective on that. So I'd love to just kick things off with like, Marissa, if you're dating a guy, at what number date do you have the DTR conversation?
So it's kind of interesting because I kind of just went through this a little bit, but we're not necessarily like dating or anything. So it's kind of weird because there's two ways that kind of relationships go, right? You could start hooking up with someone and you're like, okay, where is this going? Like, is someone catching feels? Are we like doing that? What's going on? Like, and you kind of have that odd, like, what is this conversation? And then there's like you are literally dating, like going on dates and stuff. And you're like, okay, when do we start talking about like, what is this? So there's two sides. I feel like you can go on dates with someone for months and still be like, like, I don't know, like whatever. Or if, you're like interested in someone and you're kind of going back and forth. I think the last time I like DTR'd was like 2 months into it. I was kind of just like hey, like what is going on here? Because I was like, where is this going to go? But I know that they just got out of a relationship a little bit ago and that there was still kind of not like on the table, but that was like still, I feel like I was like, I see through him. And I was like, I'm like, okay, I know that's still there. So like, I'm not pressuring, but I'm like, where is this going? Are you just trying to like be friends and like friends with benefits, or like, where are you trying to see us dating later? Like,
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. So that was like a 2-month marker. How many dates in those 2 months do you think you had? Or how many times were you together?
I was saying like either like once a week or like, yeah, like around like once a week maybe. But there was times that we were just like hanging out, and then there was like times that we went out.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird because I feel like this is like my life of like, I've never been on just like dates with someone. I've never casually dated someone.
Meaning,
she mentioned actually the last time she was in town that a man has never, or I think it was a man or a woman, has never properly taken her out on a date, like asked her to.
I've never been on a date.
What?
But I don't think that that's possible. I can't like.
I have never been. I have
like
never
out to dinner.
Like someone was like,
hey, I would like to take you on a date. I've never had that happen.
Well, we don't say that sentence a lot, but
what are you doing this weekend? Like, are you free? I'll take you out.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I've never had.
That was my response too. Like, I was like, I just don't think it's like factually like that. Someone has never been like, hey,
never
on Wednesday, let's go to this thing at 8 p.m. And
I've had partners. I've had like significant others, but we would start dating through like, we knew each other through like mutual friends, or like we would be on the same page kind of, but it was never like hey, let me take you out on a date.
You're saying like meet someone and then the next interaction be like 8 p.m. Friday dinner.
Yeah. Like I've never just like, I've never been on a date that I wasn't already with the person.
Yeah. Wow.
And then everyone's like, oh, let me take out a date. And I'm like, it's a joke. Like they're joking. I live in New York City.
The dating
Rob
capital
loves
of
to
the
New York
world.
City. He loves going there.
dude,
I know.
that's
New
what I'm
York
saying.
this
The
weekend.
Mecca.
I'll come to New York this weekend. Let me book my flight and then cancel last minute.
I literally lived in New York for the past 2.5 years, and then I lived in LA for 6 years before that.
LA dating was really hard.
LA dating was whack.
But I'm curious.
In the 6 years that I was there, I only lived there once.
I'm curious to hear how you guys are when it comes to DTRing, because I'm really bad at that. I know, like, one of my more serious girlfriends, like, we never really had the conversation, and I had, like, my cousin in town, and we had been hanging out for probably like 2 or 3 months, and it was just kind of like a given thing. But also, we showed up to brunch with my cousin. I'm like, this is my girlfriend, and we had never discussed it, but that was like DTR.
Yeah.
And
Jordan, what? No. Unless you have that conversation that you're like, hey, you are like my girlfriend.
We were hanging out like 3 times a week for like the last like month and a half. And it was like 3 months of it. That's how
I think that sounds endearing. I feel like Jordan really liked her and he was just like, this is.
No, I think that's a little confusing. I go middle school on this. My tactic is I always ask, will you be my girlfriend?
Honestly, like, respectable. If someone was like, hey, we're just dating now, I'd be like, no.
I like to ask
there's like
question.
points where you like some people get confused. Yeah.
I pull some pigtails, do a little. That's negging, right? That's how we do this. That's flirt to roast ratio.
Also, I don't think we've actually said DTR is defining the relationship. If anyone maybe doesn't live with memes, I think, and I don't know. I'm still a little shocked at the never being on a date thing. I feel like if anyone is in New York,
it's one of those things. Okay, here's the real tea on that. I am so picky. None of my relationships, not picky. I don't have high standards. I just have standards. So I am one of those people that like I don't casually date because I just don't really care. I'm like, if I know I'm very interested in the person, I will make sure that's a thing. Like my least.
Can you describe that feeling, Marissa, of like being really interested in somebody? Like what is like? Just describe that for us.
Like when they leave my house, or like I leave a hangout with them or something. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see them again. Like I really want to see them again. And I'm like, I'm coming up with excuses to be like, what should I text them to be like, hey, like, yeah, what do you, I saw this dog on the street. I know you like corgis, like, you know what I mean? It's like stuff like that where like you kind of constantly think of them and like in ways that isn't them.
Yeah, that was specific. Yeah. Was that someone? Did someone like corgis?
I do.
Okay, that's good.
So I think that it's more to the sense of my least long. What's the word for that? My shortest. Thank you, God. My shortest relationship has been like a year and a month. Oh, so wow. Like I have never been just like a serial dater. I've never been like few months I'm like over this, or like, oh, this didn't work out. It's never been that. I have a really good gut intuition. So once I'm with someone, I'm like, either like we're gonna try to long haul this, or like it's the end of the line. So yeah, I've had basically like 4 or 5 partners, and that's been that. Yeah.
I have a question, and this is dropping it a layer deeper. Will you say try to long haul it? Because this is something I think we've talked about and trying to navigate. When is it that if you two are a fit and a match and you want to dig in and do something for the long term, versus maybe you're not and you're trying to make it, but if we're trying to make it, could that result in a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, we're living together, we're really in love, but now we're breaking up?
What's your like? What do you mean for that? Like, are you saying like when do you know?
How do you navigate? I mean, how do you navigate that? Because you said try to make it work for the long haul. So how do you know if you should try to make it work, or if it's best to like respectfully go different ways?
I think it's really interesting when it comes down to communication, because everyone has different forms of communication or how they communicate. And I think that if it's very seamless and there's not a lot of like bickering, and you kind of get each other on a page that like you don't really have to say much for them to understand it, I think that's like the perfect match. I think that there's people that you get along with really physically or like chemistry wise and stuff like that. But when it comes down to literally the end of the end, is that if you guys understand each other without even having to like say much. And if you're on the same page about a lot of stuff, you're going to work really well together. If you're not on the same page as a lot of stuff, there's either going to be a lot of like random little tiny like arguments, or there's going to be a lot to work through. And like sometimes it's just like you have really good physical chemistry, or like presential chemistry, which means like when you're together you work really well. But then when you're kind of away from each other, you don't really have that great of communication, and you kind of just like I'm a really big caller. I love calling, FaceTiming, like even if it's like, hey, like how are you?
I feel like the three of us, sorry to interrupt, I feel like the three guys right now we're like, whoa, like this is a great woman. Like this is let's ask her all of our questions. And like I feel like we're sitting in front of like a sage.
Many episodes if you need.
It is.
Anytime you need, you call me, you let me know.
Well, even that word presentially, I've still been like going over it. I was like, oh, that's such a good word.
Presentially, that's like when you guys are like out as a couple, and like people are like, you guys
when
are
you're like
such
physically
a cute
together.
couple. You're
yeah.
You guys are so
because there's been
together.
people that I'm really, really great with when I'm with them, physically, but then once we're away, we have a hard time like communicating through things of like, hey, this is not what I meant, or blah blah blah. And if they don't like calling or something like that, like if something gets out of hand or something gets taken like poorly over text, I'll instantly call and be like, hey, sorry, this is what I meant. That wasn't what I was saying on text. Like we weren't on the same page. And if they don't like calling, or if they don't like picking up, or if they're just like, hey, I'm busy, and they just like don't like 5-second phone calls, like I just can't, because I just need to explain it, finish it, and be like, cool, like we're on the same page.
But I think that's a big tell though, if that they don't understand your line of communication through phone calls or texting, when because there was an ex that I had that like we just didn't work, and we were still like trying to make things happen, and like our text would be misconstrued, and then it would have to have this phone call, and I'd see that she's calling, and I'm like, I don't want we just were not able to understand each other and the nonverbals and the flow of communication that comes with it.
I was texting you, Jordan. We were giving Jordan a little crap about maybe just a little farther
You
away.
scream into the microphone. Yeah,
well,
just take it down a little bit.
I don't know, because it's
that's
not
perfect. That's perfect.
Well, I'm trying to find that balance.
Right
okay,
we're on
sorry.
your
right
team,
right there's
man.
Honestly,
We're
is the
on your
microphone just like an analogy for relationships and communication? Like, how loud are you speaking into my microphone if you're in a relationship with me? Maybe, how can you turn it up? Can you turn it down? That's just I'm giving you shit, Jordan. I'm sorry.
I mean, the whole episode is giving me shit, so I get that. And I've kind of been in a weird place about this in general, of just like you train people how to talk to you, and I feel that no matter the situation, like the way that like this is how, like even people that I don't even know all that well, I remember I like showed up to an event and people are talking to me in a way that I'm like, yeah, I can be this bantery, like we've known each other for a really long time, but like I don't know, like this is our first time hanging out and we're bickering and bantering like it's a like I know you and like we're brother and sister or things like that. So I'm still like trying to wrap my head around about the energy and the things that I exude, that and I know you guys for a really long time, so it's a little different on that. But
You're saying, is there a way that you're behaving that people think that they can? Were they like jabbing you?
Yeah, it was very just like right off the bat of like as though I've known this person for a really long time, and the demeanor of the conversation where it was just like,
who is this?
It was a random person that I met at an event who lives in Denver, and then invited me to go play volleyball with like her and her friends. So
Maybe
we were there,
and it was
stuff.
Was it like flirty?
She has a boyfriend. Like it's not. Yeah, I'm not.
Do you think it's possible that like because people have a little bit of a relationship with you via social, that they go, oh, I like know this person?
Yeah, maybe, but I feel like everyone who talks about how they know me via social is that I'm just like this wholesome dog dad. Not that I'm like this sarcastic person, or that I have this. I don't know.
Can I chime in?
Yeah, let's go.
I've known Jordan for only a few months, and the first time we met, we went on a trip together to literally Mexico and Costa Rica. I think, and this is sending so much love, Jordan, I think you shit on yourself, that people think that it's okay to almost do it as well. So you like you like joke about yourself in a not a poor way, but like
a
in
self-deprecating way.
Yes, so that people are like, yeah, and they like join almost because they're like, oh, whatever, like he's doing it, so I guess this is like the way that he communicates with himself. That's how I see it.
Interesting.
I love you.
She also told me I have RBF, or that I make facial expressions that are impossible to read. So that my nonverbals are a struggle as well. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but no, I love this stuff. I think this is good stuff. But Marissa,
we just totally switched flags right now.
But the way that you speak is very honest and direct, but it's really refreshing because it's from a loving place. And I think like nowadays, especially, and I grew up in New York, but then moved to LA, and also kind of where our society is going is like very like, don't say anything that could possibly upset people. And it's really not with their best interest at heart, because you're being direct. Maybe that was a little upsetting for Jordan, but it was like helpful and so much love in it.
Yeah. I think that the way I speak to things, like people sometimes get really upset because of like, I'll just tell them like, hey, this is how it is. But I'll never say anything that's like in malintent, I guess, unless you like piss me off. But like, I'll never try to say anything in malintent. It's more like, hey, this is how other people are perceiving you, or like, this is how I'm taking this. Like, can you just see it this way so that you stop hurting yourself in this way or that way? But also whenever I speak, a lot of this stuff, I'm just like, hey, this is how I was raised, in like a sense of like, my mom would just tell me anything straight up and I'd be like, okay, like whatever. But then I would be more conscious of it. So then I would be able to kind of tell other people like, hey, this is how this is going, or this is how other people are perceiving you. Like, just be aware. But I'm not saying it as like a dude, like you're fucking annoying, like stop. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, like sometimes this is that and the other, you know? So then I just try to say things that are very like, hey, this is how this is happening, but it's not trying to be upsetting. It's more of like a, hey, I'm just trying to help you out so you can see as well. Because sometimes people don't see from an outsider's perspective, or just no one tells them.
Jordan, how did that make you feel? Like, how are you feeling right now?
I'm fine. I'm definitely like thinking back onto how I self-talk, because I don't know if I am I think being self-deprecating is important, or at least like having self-awareness around yourself. Yeah, I'm good. It's just, I don't know. I think it was interesting that it came up again in something that I've been talking about in therapy, or just like working through, as it seems to be a common thing. Like even the wedding that I was at this past weekend in New York, and the two of the sisters of the groom were sitting at the table that I was at, and another sister comes by and they're introducing people and they're like, oh yeah, and that's Schmidt. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, like how, you know, like how
from
New Girl.
New Girl.
Oh,
okay.
It's dead on comparison, yeah.
Hey, but listen, he ends up with the girl in the end. You know what I mean? So
right, I understand. Yeah, and like, but it's one of those things that it's like, listen, I literally met you 2 minutes ago, and I like sat down and I was just like engaged, you know, like, well, and and people already have this comfortability around that I'm just like. And I'm interested because at the same time, you know, my perception is I've actually only really seen the first 2 seasons of New Girl, where like Schmidt is more on like the douchebag scale than like he turns wholesome. So in my mind, I'm like, I take that a bit as insulting more than it being, people are like, no, but we love Schmidt, he's my favorite. But still, to me, I'm like, yeah, but they're like, I can't fully get a read on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think this whole conversation is, if you tie it back into just like a healthy relationship, goes to 2 points. One is like communication, and also like your identity as a person, and like your partner kind of recognizing what your identity is and not trying to like mold you into something that you're not, but just like accepting exactly who you are. So like Jordan, if you are Schmidt, you're going to find, you know, who does Schmidt fall in love with? Cece. Yeah. Cece. Like, yeah. So you're going to find her, and she's going to love your Schmittiness. And Weber, like same with you, of like, you're maybe you use Post-it notes instead of like a to-do list. Like you're kind of a mess and you got a tapestry, but like somebody's going to love that. And then they're going to be like, that is like the dude I love. And I just think that.
Now, do you?
For me, it's probably like
Who's so tall and so handsome, and just
No,
really
dude,
put together.
I definitely have my demons. I definitely like I struggle with depression for sure, and like that's something that I need to like, I need to work on every day. And sometimes I can be a bit of a grumpy bear, and that's just the reality. But some lovely lady's gonna love that grumpiness and like, be into that and just be like, oh, that is who he is.
I definitely
Yeah.
underline that. Like my last relationship, and then I've noticed I'm like really
Webbs, you're actually now your microphone is too far away from your face. Yeah, I need you to deep throat the mic. Sorry, Marissa.
This is a family podcast.
Is it?
I don't know. I don't even know. It's hard to say. How about that? Okay.
That's really good.
Well, I think, and I don't think it's not wanting someone to challenge you or make you better or lift you up. I think that's all beautiful. But there is something that I've noticed where in some of my like earlier relationships, there was kind of an energy where I think this happens with a lot of guys. And one of my good friends married someone that reinforced this dynamic. It's kind of this dynamic of like chaperone or you're in trouble or reprimanding. And I found a lot of guys can almost fall into that. And I've just like my last relationship, one thing I really valued was she was just really accepting. I'll tell a super quick anecdote, but like, yeah, I overcommit. I run myself ragged. I do too many things. I'm bad with time management. The list goes on. And I showed up. We had a date at a farmer's market. I showed up and I was probably 20 minutes late. And, I told her I was going to be late. I texted in advance, but I still was 20 minutes late. And I apologized profusely.
How far in advance did you tell her that you were going to be late?
Maybe a half hour before.
Okay.
But maybe enough where maybe it was 20 minutes before, enough where she was there and she was waiting for me at 20 minutes of the farmer's market.
Okay.
And, but I got there, I apologized. She accepted it. And we had like a lovely day. And I remember this because I thanked her so much because I've had relationships where that would have ruined the day. And I think just, I guess it's accepting or some like love or grace is, I can only speak for me, but I think these guys too. It's just, it goes such a long way.
Well, I mean, I think a barometer for me of like a successful relationship is just like, how many times have I apologized in the last month?
That's a good.
And like, how many times have I needed to apologize just to like clear the air? And I've been in relationships that I'm like, I'm head over heels for her, but I keep like feeling like I'm fucking up. And that's not a good feeling to be in.
But is it you or is she asking you to like say sorry?
I would say it's probably a combo. Like there's an inherent feeling of like, man, I wish I nailed that better. But then I also think there was some expectation that it's like, yo, that's just not who I am, or that's not how I operate. So I think it's a combo. I don't think I'm just like, I believe I'm a good partner, and I've been in some legit relationships, and I'm also very mindful of like, if my partner is unhappy, I try and like shift and try and like, work through it. But I'm also a bit of a hot mess, just like all of us.
I think we all are. It's fine.
Is there something that that you've dated a guy, Marissa, where like if there's a quality that you really value, and then also maybe is there one that you don't?
I really value quality time, and like I've noticed that it's more of a sense of like, say when people think quality time, or some guys will be like, oh, we hang out all the time. I'm like, I don't care to just like sit around. Like if I say like, oh my God, I love kayaking, and they're, when they're like, hey, you want to go kayaking? I'm like, whoa, like it's just, as stupid as that sounds, it's like they listened to that one thing that one time where it's like they really cared to be like, hey, let's go out of our way to go do something that you really enjoy. I think it's the little kind of like spurts of like they are interested in making it work, in sense of like not just trying to spend time with you as in like just trying to be around you. It's like they want to go out of their way to do things that you enjoy as well. So I'm like a really big, like, you say you like berry smoothies once, I'm like, yo, any day I'm like, you want to go get a berry smoothie? Like you love berry smoothie. Like it's kind of stuff like that where it's kind of, you just go out of your way to make them feel like, oh, they're listening, and they're listening a lot. Like, or it's just like stupid little things. I don't need flowers every other day. I don't need you to surprise me every other day. But like in a sense of caring to be those little listening things, it's like if someone doesn't, like you're gonna find someone who's going to at one point or the other. And that's kind of like where my last relationship, kind of like towards the end, it was like, well, like, yeah, whatever. But it was more when I was like looking for another, not looking, but going around being like, oh, who I could possibly date, or seeing people. And I'm like, oh, this could work. But I'm like, they don't really care to kind of go out of their way and do things besides just hang out. Like I could find someone that would go out of their way and do things that we both love, or plan a night out or something like that, where I felt like everything was just kind of like, hey, if you want to do this, we could do it. I'm like, no, I don't want to just feel like I'm like, hey, if you want to do this thing. It's like, hey, I planned this entire thing for us, or hey, let's go out and find something to do. Like I would love that. But yeah, I don't really care for just like chilling, like it's
we
fun.
Gotta get you on a
when
date,
it's like
Marissa.
just normal.
We gotta
Please,
get you.
I swear, I just like, it's just.
Where in New York City do you live?
I live in Brooklyn.
What stop on the L train?
It's just, please, I can't even tell you that.
I have a good friend who lives in Brooklyn. Really great guy.
Let's get Marissa laid, and let's get her on a date.
Wait, you said date.
I never said I was getting not laid. That's not what I said.
Oh, Marissa's getting laid. Okay. Do you guys want to play like a game or read some of our?
I do want to ask one thing that and I want Marissa to, I'm gonna tease into this. So it's summertime, guys. Like, and it's hot out, so you gotta let your feet breathe a little bit. Do you wear sandals, either of you guys?
Never.
I'm wearing them right now.
No!
Rob, you can feel this one first. I have a pretty strong opinion on this.
Okay. They're slides.
Slides. Yeah.
Slides.
We need to talk about flip flops. Don't call them.
No, I don't wear flip flops unless I'm on like a tropical vacation. Even then, I don't.
Thank you so much. I can punch this computer about how excited I am.
Can you just give a quick blip of why that is, and then we'll jump into that other game. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience that agree with you or even disagree, but I do know that men in sandals is a hot take.
I just think I don't think the dogs should be out. Okay. I think they should be completely put away. I barely even like putting out my dogs. I don't want them out. I don't want to see yours. And here's the thing, like, especially in New York, like if you're in California, I'm like, I still hate them, but I understand. But like, if you're in New York on the motherfucking subway, out in New York City, out in Manhattan, I'm like, that's disgusting. You're picking up some diseases that I don't want to put in my room. Like, and like, I'm not like, you're not going to wash your feet before you get in a bed. Like, I don't see anyone just going out of their way to wash their feet before they get like sit into their room or like walk around their house. That's
unless
disgusting.
You're at the beach or the pool. Sandals are,
and even then they just like wash it off a little bit. They don't like wash their feet with soap.
So yours is more of a cleanliness. Yeah.
It's just also like, I don't want to see your feet. It's disgusting.
I've seen a dirty foot in my day.
I think a sandal on a woman is really lovely. I think on a man,
it depends.
I don't think it's the most, and listen, I'm only speaking for, I don't think it's the most like masculine, strong, grounded energy to maybe present to the opposite sex. Like I've worn them many times, and I've also like been around a female and I'm like flip flopping, and you're just like, you're not, I don't feel very confident in the strength I'm being.
Like jeans and sandals, I think is just a terrible look too. Like
bottoms.
Okay, that's illegal. That is illegal. No jeans and sandals.
Straight to jail.
Like, that is straight jail. I won't even show interest in you, I swear. But like, I'm not saying, because like, I don't care about the masculinity part. Like, no toxic masculinity here. Like, I don't care. But like, are you gonna fight for me? No, you're not. In sandals? No, you're not. I'm gonna outrun
I agree.
you,
I mean, I don't think any of that was toxic though. Like, I think if you're looking for someone, and again, it depends on what you want, but if you did want someone to like feel that protector energy or And if that guy
You're not
wants
gonna
to
do it
be
in
it,
sandals.
yeah, no, flippity flops are tough for that. Yeah.
It's not it.
So were you, Alex, were you scarred in this like moment that you were with this girl and you just heard yourself flopping and
I've had a
flipping
few
and
scarring
and
moments of
then you're like, I'm never wearing this again?
There's been times, and this is an example of flip flops, but there's been others where like you kind of see the other person see or experience it and just like see them checking out
The
of
ick
any
is
attraction to you with men on. Like, just see it.
you
Yeah.
see the
Awful.
ick taking place.
Awful.
All right, guys.
All right,
I
we
have
playing a game?
I have a voice note that I'm going to play.
Nice.
This is from Renee.
Again, same
yeah,
Renee. Love
Same Renee, but
Same
this time
accent,
she, no, yeah, different accent. This is
Do I know
actually her
this?
voice. So here we go.
I feel like those of us born in the 80s were one of the first generations to start casually dating or dating more people within high school and into our 20s. Whereas a previous generation, like my parents, started dating in high school, got married, had kids, and are still together today. Do you think the previous generation had it right and we're doing it wrong? Or do you think it's just because we're more connected in this world to everybody and we have no idea how to stay in something because we always think the grass may be greener on the other side with somebody else?
Renee with that heat.
I have some
Wow.
good thoughts on that.
Thank you,
Marissa,
Renee.
tee it
Marissa,
off.
kick it off. Let's go.
So there's two sides of that, which I think she's correct on the side of I think that there was such little to care about back then that literally just like, oh, we get along, sure, we can get married. Like it was settled, done, kind of like there was nothing really. Women barely had rights anyway, so it was kind of like yeah, let's get married and move on. I think that now there's so many more things going on in the world. There's so many more jobs now. There's so many more aspects to women that now are to put in the loop. And like, as much as I hate to say this, like social media plays a lot into that, or like text messages, or, cheating is like so much more prevalent, I feel. And there's so much more to be found out now, I feel like. So there's so many more aspects that go into it, when before it was like, if they were cheating, it was because they were at work from 9 to 5 and they were doing something, but you would never know that because they don't have a phone. It's stuff like that where there's so much more now to be looked at. But I also think that women have higher standards because there's so much more going on in the world with women, and women have so many more rights and things that we look for.
I have a theory.
Yes.
So in The Notebook, they
I gotta see this damn movie.
in The Notebook, they
Please.
look, the reality is The Notebook is one of the greatest movies that's ever been made. Okay, so let's just go there. They wait to have sex until way later on. And I feel like, and this is an interesting argument, but obviously men used to have sex with their partner almost like after marriage. So now I think you can have sex more freely with many different partners. So there's less of a desire instinctually for men to commit to one woman. Thoughts?
Well, a few things. One is that the thing that gets overlooked is that in the 60s and 70s, it's the generation of free love. So I think there's a lot of promiscuity that was taking place during that time. I think The Notebook kind of takes place a little even earlier, like that's like 30s, 40s, right? Is when that happens. They're Rob, yes or no?
Let's go with the 50s.
Okay, great. And so for me, I think there's still that it's just a limited amount. I think there's so many options that you see and you don't get to travel, or social media is a huge player, or even dating apps is a huge thing of just seeing all of your options versus I live in this small town and like Marissa said, is like, hey, we click. And it seemed just like a simpler time of just, this is good. And you're not really understanding. I think we've evolved a little bit more of understanding of what it really takes to be in a functioning family. Like, yes, there are marriages and people that are still together, but like how many of these parents and grandparents just like bicker and do it, but it's like, I'm just here for it and I'm committed. Like commitment is where they had their strong suit.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. One is because I thought about this. I thought about this with my parents, and there is a certain, past generations of being trapped a little bit. Like I think about like, that cliche that ended up happening of like the housewife who drinks and, or the guy who's working in this, I'm like picturing Mad Men, but is cheating in the city.
Same.
But I think there's some truth to that of we have such a blessing and a privilege and a curse, but there is such a blessing and privilege of if you really wanted to change your life, you could really do it pretty efficiently in 2022, more and more or less, versus 30 years ago, if you were unconnected to other people, unconnected to other ways of lives, other cities, other jobs, other people, there is, I think, a feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm trapped. I guess I just have to stay here. But Rob, you also brought up I think though, with that, we also take it to the nth degree where there's grass is always greener. We're always like, but Rob, you bring up an interesting point because I have a lot of friends of strong faith and, some of those faiths are Christianity, but they will, often be getting married at about 19, 20 in their 20s, not have any sexual intercourse, until marriage. And I don't know enough of the long term, but I will say a lot of those marriages are very committed, very strong, very, I don't know if that is the non-sex, if that's the faith, if that's just, or to Jordan's point, they're just like, we're committed.
I mean, I definitely think it has to do with it. I think sexual intimacy nowadays is so like, I mean, you literally can download an app on your phone and go have sex with someone that night. And the sexual intimacy, dilemma, I think comparatively to when you're in a committed relationship, thinking that you're going to spend your life with this person and build a home and have kids, it takes up the sexual intimacy to an entirely different level. And I'm speaking as someone who's married and has a kid. Like I've experienced it. And I just think that the latter, the committed sexual intimacy, is far greater and far more memorable than what we as a modern society of dating people deal with right now, where it's just like you can just go fuck anyone and there is freedom in that and promiscuity. But I think the push pull is that you're then missing out on these like, oh my God, like feelings of, is this my life partner?
There's like such an interesting, especially in New York City, it's very weird. I grew up in a Mormon community, and I look like all of my friends are married with kids. They all have kids. I don't want children, so like it's a little different for me. But like with all of my friends, they either went to a Mormon college or they stayed in the Mormon community in my hometown, and they found someone in our ward that like they were interested in, and like you are like, oh cool, we're close to the same, we're both Mormon, cool, like that's it, and it was more like they're not allowed to have sex till marriage. So like I feel like there's a lot that plays into that, because with me, mom, I'm a virgin, but I can have sex with someone and then be like, I'm not really interested because we didn't really have that sexual chemistry, or like I didn't really like it or enjoy it. So there's that type of thing where there can be chemistry or something and you're like, yeah, this is great, like wow, and then you like go hook up with them and you're like, I take it back, I'm not really interested, but for me that's such a big deal, because I'm like, I want to be physically attracted to them, I want to be like interested in them, yada yada, and you're like, ooh, I'm stuck in between now, like does it give me the ick, like what is this, like I don't know what, and so there's always that thing though, that with you said like, oh, the grass is always green on the other side. It's like you look at, like a lot of my friends are like, I'm getting into relationships, and then they're like, but what about if we go out and there's someone cute at the bar? I'm like, like they have that, oh, what if moment. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm single, so I can't really say anything, so I don't really care. But there's things where if I'm interested in someone, I'm like, is there someone that would do these things, these little, kayaking days or something that, like, by the way, guys, I don't like kayaking, so don't take me on a date if you're trying to ask me out.
The DMs of kayaking.
I can't. Don't ask me on a kayaking date. But it's like that type of stuff where like you are like always thinking of, oh, would someone, think of these little things that they would do for me later, or, you know, are we going to last more than 5 years, etc.
Well, and it's interesting also because going off of you saying about, you know, we've talked a bit about the ick and having the physical intimacy. I made a TikTok about a fictional person on my plane, and I called them a 7. I was like, she's a 7, but is on your flight and like is your same age. And the comments from girls are like, so what do you think you are? Oh, I can't believe you called someone a 7. And I'm like, are we all 10s? Like the amount of people that like jumped on this trend and were like, I'm a 10 and this and that. And it's like, we need, once again, self-awareness and all of this, but everyone wants this perfect person, both male and female, and we continue to like be more and more like Jerry Seinfeld, where, oh, you know, this gave me the ick, this gave me I'm out on this, I'm immediately out, and not allowing it to brew. I have another question if we want to go.
One micro note in it though, because the number thing, I can see that, because the number thing is a tough thing, because it's like you're in one way, shape, or form, you're kind of like distilling an entire human being. I'm not saying this is just you. I'm saying in our society, like, I don't even know if people still do the number thing, but I guess it's a meme or trend. You're taking an entire human being and you're like, this is your numerical rating. And essentially, unless you get a 10, you're flawed, you're damaged, you're rejected, you know? So it's pretty intense.
You could be a 10 to someone and a 6 to someone else. Exactly. I'm like a New York 7.5. I'm a Wisconsin 12. Let me tell you.
Exactly. The whole system's flawed to begin with, and so it's just having fun with it. All right. So we were talking we were talking about dating apps. So here, this is from Helen.
Hello, chaps. So my question to you is, dating apps, are they the best thing or the worst thing to happen to modern dating?
Do you need it again,
Marissa?
I realized that I had her at 5 speed.
No. We got it. Dating apps, are they ruining modern dating? I think personally, this is a personal endeavor, I think that it is the worst thing ever. I've never had a dating app. I literally think it's so awful, because people literally are like begging to like sorry, that sounded so mean, but like I am such a personal, like, let me meet you out at somewhere through mutual friends or something. Like, I feel like when you're going on dating apps, you're like, first you're basing it off of looks, which is fine, but like I would never be able to work on a dating app, because when I meet you in person, I'm like, oh, we're gonna either work really quickly, like we're gonna work well, or I'm just like, your vibe is so off, like I can't do this. And so I am just when it comes to online dating and stuff, I'm like, these people are like trying to force themselves into relationships, and I'm like, they're going so far out of the way to be like, yes. I'm like, unless you're trying to get a hookup, whatever, cool, I don't care. But like when you're like personally trying to find like a significant other, I'm like, that is so crazy. Like, just walk outside. Like, I don't know, like I think it's hard obviously to find like the one, but like when people put themselves on dating apps, I just think it's such a, like, you're literally going out of your way to try to force yourself into a relationship with someone like you've never met. I'm like, that's insane to me. Well, and I know a lot of my friends have found like literal husbands and wives. I'm like, go off. But like, I think it's so insane that the concept of it is so crazy.
So what if you were a nurse, or you didn't work or live in a place where you could easily go outside and bump? I mean, New York City is the like mecca of bump into each other.
Sure.
So, okay. Sure. So let's say to your example of Wisconsin, let's say you're living in Madison, Wisconsin, you want to meet someone and you're working.
Really cute town. It's a cute town.
Yeah.
Super cute.
Madison,
Wisconsin. Super cute town. We're all on the same page there. So you want to meet somebody, but you don't get to bump around and meet people. Or maybe when you go out in public, it doesn't work out.
I think that you just need to wait.
Okay.
I really just think you need to wait. I know, but I really think you just need to like wait and chill out and like not try to be like, I need to be in a relationship right now. Like, if you like meet a few people, sure, like go off. But I'm saying like, just really like, you don't need to meet someone like tomorrow. Like if you're 30 and you're like, oh my God,
I don't think it's like
okay, whatever.
I don't think there's like pressure on, like, people are like, hey, I'm interested in meeting some people, and I guess that's where the scales on the dating of like what you're seeking, whether it is like relationship or marriage or something casual, and so those kind of barometers can help you in that space. I do think it's like there's greatness in it of being able, I've connected and met some amazing people through dating apps, and at the same time I do agree on your side of things that it is a bit of chasing more than attracting, but in this realm of things of not every night I want to go out to the bars and drink or be, but I could still connect with people and set something up where I can meet them. So I think there is positivity on it. I don't know if it's the best or worst thing. I do think it has been a great opportunity of connection.
I had somebody reach out to me on Instagram and say, she sent me a screenshot of the guy that was on her Bumble profile, and she lives in like North Carolina, and she's like, the choices here are terrible. Like there's just
Rob, who was that?
Did somebody do that to you too?
Well, it's a friend of mine. I think she submitted a voice note to us.
Oh my God. Are you gonna play it?
I will. Do we want another one?
Yeah, let's do one more.
I think it's exactly that.
Well, hold on. Can I hear what your guys' take on the dating app thing, and then we can transition to the next question?
Rob, you go. I'm gonna get upset.
All right. Thanks
Go
for the deflection. Okay. So my theory on all of this is that dating apps are a beautiful thing in the sense that you can go out on a date. You don't have to be alone. You can find somebody quickly, and there are plenty of options. That's the positive. I think the negative of dating apps is that it's now limiting the amount of times that we are meeting somebody in the wild using all of our senses, in the sense of like seeing them, feeling them, smelling them, even like hearing their voice. So I think I've had experiences where somebody on a dating app seems really cool, really attractive, very good texter, like, and then I meet them in person and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm like not even attracted to this person at all. And it's like instantaneous. And then there's people that I've met in the wild that I'm just like, you are fucking it. Like you are so cool. And I think it's because we're using all of our senses in real life versus this metaverse of dating. So that's my pro and con. Do I want to go back to the 1960s and be in the Notebook? Yes, obviously.
We have a Notebook hit count, and there has not been one episode that Rob has not mentioned, cited the Notebook.
I think just Rachel McAdams is like the Great White Buffalo. Like she is the one.
Rachel McAdams, if you're watching this.
I'll give a quick answer to that, and then I'll play this one. It's a blessing and a curse because I'll be honest that I do think I'm not going to meet my soulmate wife partner in crime. I've just had that like in my bones. It's not that I'm not going to meet them on an app. That it's going to
sounded like you were just like, I'm never going to.
In general, I was like,
wow, that's subconscious fear coming out. So lonely, guys. I'm so lonely. I just feel, and this is kind of my belief in like whatever universe, God, faith, that I think it'll come in a magical way if it's supposed to happen in its due time. Because I've had meetings when I met Rob, it was a friend love at first sight. And like my primal instincts was like, this guy, good. Same with you, Jordan, 100%. Don't get feelings. It was just such a random meeting with Rob. Okay. But I will say that the last two people that I've really dated has been off of Hinge. And I don't know.
How long did it last?
Sorry. Well, they didn't last. So I guess there's something.
How long did that? What was the length of each one though?
One relationship was a year. And then one was actually a really beautiful thing where she was kind of doing an eat, pray, love across the country. And so she was in Boulder where I live for 3 months. And it was an interesting like study of dating because we both knew we would only have, by the time we met, 2 months together. I don't know. There's a lot to unpack there, but it was a really wonderful, I think, the world of her. And then it was kind of like it ended. And we both were like, I don't think there's enough to take on long distance, and take on that beast. So like, you're awesome and have a wonderful life. Yeah.
Yeah, I live a lot in that space of just like knowing that there's going to be an end and be like, that was awesome. Like, text me when you can, like, you know, and all that, where it's just very like, you think so positively of them as opposed to like maybe the longer one and we talked about this on the most recent episode. So I won't
Okay, so
backslide,
then
but
do you think you guys would have accepted those or committed more into those relationships if there weren't dating apps and there wasn't this optionality?
Accepted more.
And you would have leaned in. You would have just been like this, yeah. But since there is so many options, it's like we have swipers fatigue. That's what I'm saying. It's like our mind is being trained that we can download a numerous amount of dating apps. Marissa's like, no.
But there's also that element of like me crying over my breaking up with my girlfriend in college and being like, we were supposed to, like, I thought we were gonna get married, and now thinking back being like, I am so glad that was so bad. Like, I honestly thought that was gonna happen. And so yeah, there is swipers fatigue. There's definitely pros and cons to both sides of it.
What y'all are talking about is the story of my life here in good old North Carolina, because everybody's wanting to be in the bars, everybody's wanting to be out and about, you know, and I'm past all that. And so hearing y'all's podcast is absolutely hilarious to me because I can totally relate.
Thank you, Jen. You're awesome. Also, we had British, we had Southern.
And then Renee, I don't know where Renee is. Renee,
there's definitely an accent with Renee. Funny enough. Was that a question or
question?
Yeah.
So there was longer.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Marissa. You get it. You get it.
The thing. Okay, this is what really upsets me, which is so funny. Everyone thinks you can only meet people at bars because that's all they're doing. I have met more people just out, like in parks or at events, or like the last person I met at a music festival, like just because I walked up to him and I said something. Like, I don't really chat with people at bars. If I do, it's like a, hey, like, you're cute, okay, fun, yay, fun, like whatever, flirt for a little bit, whatever. But like, people only go and they think like, oh, I have to go out, get dressed up at night, go out, like drink, and then like that boosts their morality. Like they're less morals, I guess, but more like confidence and stuff. So they think like the only way to meet people and get confidence is to go out to a bar, take a few drinks or shots or whatever, and then like chat it up with people, because that's why people are out, and like that's why they're out to flirt and stuff like that. But like, I think like going out and stuff, like in a general sense, or like a yoga class or something like that, like I think there's so much more that people overlook just because they're like, oh, like I have to go out to a bar because that's where everyone meets each other.
Real quick, because we got asked this in another episode. When you went up to the music festival guy, what did you say?
So I was sitting with my friend, and there was like, we were by the bar. There was like an open bar at this like thing, but I was just standing there, and the bartender like threw a joke at me, like, oh, you look like you need a drink. And then I was like, damn, I look that bad. And the guy laughed, and I like looked at him, and I was like, I said some joke. I like clapped back at him, and I like said something like, okay, like, who are you to say anything, or some shit like that. And it was like very quick. And then I was like, hi, I'm Marissa. And that was the first, like, I just said like, what was your name? And then literally like 2 minutes goes by. We were just joking. What'd you say?
I said, I'm in love. Let's go.
2 minutes went by, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to this concert on Friday. You look like you would love to go. Like, you look like you're a concert guy, because he was at the concert, the festival anyway. And he was like, oh yeah, like what type of music is there, or something? And I was like, this, that, and the other. And I was like, well, for me to give you the details, like, I'll need your number. And then he gave me his number.
And then you all went out.
Yeah.
You went on a date?
No.
Oh, okay.
But we've been hanging out for like a few months now.
Technically, Marissa planned that.
True.
Yeah, technically. Yeah, because it was like a concert thing, but it was like with a few friends and stuff like that. It was like a mutual hangout, but it was like, so then since then we've been hanging out. But like, yeah, it's very much so of, I I mean, I am a first mover. I make all the first moves for sure.
I sense that. Yeah.
I always do. Yeah. I'm a big, like, I'll lean in for
What's
the
your
first
sign,
kiss type of
Marissa?
person. I'm a Scorpio.
Scorpio, me too. Let's go. Okay.
Yeah. So like I'm a
know
big
you.
like
I know you.
Yeah.
Marissa, it's great.
I'm a
Your
big
posture
first
right
move.
now is so good too, as you're like giving off this first vibe. I make the first move energy. Yeah.
So Marissa, we want to give you the final word here on today's episode. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna go around the horn. We're gonna go around the horn. Now, you've never met Alex or I, but you've just spent an hour with us. And what we'd like is each one of us just give us one word of advice for each one of us. And you can start with whoever you want, but you're gonna give each of us one word of advice in our dating.
On dating?
Yeah, on dating.
Okay. Alex, get rid of tapestry. No, I'm kidding.
No, I get it. I receive.
No, I'm just kidding. Alex, I feel like you have the confidence to like very much so like present yourself as a. Are you dating anyone?
Well, let me circle back.
Are you in a situationship right now?
Yeah.
You're in a situationship. Okay. So I feel like, I don't know what your situationship is, but I feel like you need to be more like confident in your abilities and yourself. Like, I feel like you have it all there, but I feel like you're like, ooh, am I doing good enough right now? Like, I feel like you just need to be like, I am doing good enough, and like kind of like hone in on what your actual feelings are for this person.
You hit my soul. Thank you.
Rob, you got the confidence of a fucking mastermind. You are full, like, talk about booking flights tomorrow. Let's go. Let me tell you. I don't know. You said you're married with kids?
We'll end up canceling.
I'm a widower. I lost my wife to cancer a few years ago.
So I feel like there's the point there that, do you casually date, or do you go on dates at all?
I casually date. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. You don't know. Okay. I feel like, I don't know how long ago it was with your wife, but I feel like there's some kind of like, you don't know if it's a good time or not yet. And I feel like it's kind of one of those things where you really have to kind of put like of a what if, like, what if, you know, this did happen, this did happen, you have a child, like, or whatever. And I feel like you have to kind of put in a sense of, if she was to go, what would she want? Or like, your feelings for her are there, but they should always be there. But there's like a point of you presenting yourself with okay, my life is here too. And you really need to like push into your interests of what would make you happiest in a sense of like introducing people straight up with, you know, it's not like a necessary of you have to present yourself as a widower or anything like that. It's more like I'm a really fun guy. I have a kid. Like, we could do fun stuff. You know, people love that shit. Like, I love, you know, kids, not my own, but I love men with kids. I'm like, this is great. Like, if someone sends me a thing with their cat, I'm like, this is fantastic. But I feel like it's one of those things that finding that person that really, really cares to care about your feelings with your wife, and also presenting a new relationship. So they have to like work together with that to make sure that it's like both on both ends.
Amazing. Well said.
Amazing. Jordan, I know you personally, so this is going to be, I think that you have the confidence of a German Shepherd. I think that you present very, no, it's good. You present very like well, like very confident, but then on the inside, you're kind of like, ooh, I don't know if this is like best for me or not. And I think that when I first met you, why we kind of worked so well was because we were both like, okay, this is what we want. This is what it is. And we kind of like told each other off the bat. And I think that was kind of like a great sense of like, in any friendship, any relationship, stuff like that, it's very much like a present sense of knowing what you want. But I feel like you need to like hone in on that and like keep with yourself. Cause I feel like you have such great confidence and such a great setup with your life. I mean, you're like self-employed, you do this, you have great dogs. Your dogs are absolutely incredible, by the way. But like, in a sense of like, that shows like you trained your dog so well, that shows like you have a really great self-discipline and stuff like that. We went to the gym every morning when I was in Colorado. Like, I was just visiting, we went, it was like, you have a really great like self-discipline, but I feel like you need to like set the bar higher for like not accepting just like, oh, I really like this girl XYZ. It's like, if they're not up to my standards, then like that's, it is what it is. Like, sorry.
Kiss me right now.
Kiss me on the mouth. Me and Jordan have kissed on the mouth before.
Really?
Multiple times.
How was it? Was there fireworks? Was it hot?
It was absolute. We're getting married next week, actually.
Oh, I love it. I knew there was a vibe. This whole
This
hour.
is so notebooky.
It was raining in Mexico the first time.
Yeah, that's true.
Say less.
Wow.
We were in a quad. We were getting stopped by the cartel. It was great. But yeah, I feel like you guys all are so confident in yourselves, but I feel like you really just need to set your shit higher of like what you look for in them, not what they look for in you.
Just in an hour, we got like completely undressed.
Marissa, that was you hit.
Marissa, seriously, thank you so much. This has been an enlightening episode. We talked about defining the relationship. We talked about modern dating and dating apps, and I think in general, it was just funny watching Jordan, Alex, and I like just be like, whoa, like she's a woman, like she's got great ideas, and like she knows what we don't know. So again, Marissa, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yes, thank you. Literally anytime I can talk about this all day, baby, all day.
Well, guys, if you haven't yet, please hit subscribe, hit follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can leave us a 5-star rating if you feel so inclined. We'd love reading those ratings. Also, please send us questions. You can DM Jordan, Alex, and I on Instagram. I'm at Single Girl Dad. There's at I'm Alex Weber and at Jordan Kahana. And then we also just launched at We Are Still Single on Instagram. So we're going to try and share some meme content, some more video content about modern dating. But please send us in your questions. As you can see, we love them and we will play them on the next episode.